Okay, joining me now is Mohanad Saloum. He's an assistant professor in critical security studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Many thanks for joining the programme, Mohanad. The GHF was brought in by the Israelis and the Americans despite the fact that there was already a well-established, experienced system of UN aid provision in place in Gaza already. So in your view, was it a definitive plan then by the Israelis to militarize aid, to use as a means of creating chaos and murdering civilians, which is what we've been seeing in recent days?
Well, there are many reasons for Israel to do that. First is, they don't want other parties that are not, they don't have the security background to do the job on the ground because they want to collect information about the people who are receiving aid. So it's not only about militarizing aid, but also about control and making sure that they can collect information. And also, these companies usually do not have reports that would criticize Israel. So it's there's so many reasons doing that, as well as, having the IDF distancing itself from doing the job directly also contributes to the so-called plausible deniability. Anything goes wrong, they would say it's the contractor, not the IDF. Anything goes wrong, they can blame somebody else, or they can add their contract.
So just to be clear on that point, I mean, what does international law say about the use of these private military contractors in war zones? Can they be held to account legally?
Definitely, because, while they're trying to distance themselves from the actions of these companies on the ground, the government that contracted this company, they do have to take full responsibility under international law. The issue with that, as I said, is how to address that. Because if it is the army that is doing the job on the ground and they have committed, crimes or any mistakes, the army itself would be blamed. And this is bad PR for any government. So what they do, basically, they would say, well, this is a subcontractor, and they're doing the job on the ground. They made mistakes, and then we would be, punishing them or ending their contract, and we will take them to court. And in many cases, these companies are multinational, so bringing them to court or to trial is very hard. We had this before in Iraq, we had this before in Afghanistan, and governments got away with it because these companies are multinational, and they could have committed actions on the ground that can be described as war crimes.
I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I want to ask you, what do we know about these military contractors that are operating in Gaza? Do we have any information about them?
There was some information in the past, because this is not new. The Israelis wanted this some time ago. We're talking about 3-4 months ago. And the U.S. said we will be having 2 contracting companies doing the logistics on the ground and also delivery. But then also they had other jobs, screening people, moving people, Palestinians from one part of Gaza to another. But then we did not have much information. I think the New York Times leaked the names of these companies. One of them is a Plantier and the other is, I think, Easy Way or something. I don't remember the exact names, but I'm sure that a Plantier was one of them. And these companies are, they have had contracts before in other war areas, and they were subcontracted to the U.S. My understanding is that at least one of them has a controversial history and should have not been able to work and operate in Gaza. But here we are. We have this company on the ground, and we have very limited information about these companies. Even if you go to search them, because I remember talking about this before, even if you go search them on Google, you would find very little information about them.
We do now appear to have this momentum towards a ceasefire in Gaza. In your opinion, if Hamas does agree to give up its weapons, step down from their role of running the territory, is that going to be enough for the Israeli government to feel safe, or do you think they are going to insist on some sort of political and security alternative?
Well, what we have now is like a proposal of ceasefire that Hamas responded to it positively. We don't have full details, but what we are looking at is the Israelis are trying to get the hostages back, the dead and the alive ones. And I think that is the first step. The second step is disarming Hamas, and I think that would be a stumbling point. And then the third stage would be negotiations between Israel and Hamas for 60 days, after which, if both parties agree, then the U.S. would guarantee a long-term ceasefire or peace or stop of hostilities. So what we are looking at is a fragile proposal that Hamas responded to, but we don't know what the Israelis are going to say or the United States. But it seems that President Trump, seems to be optimistic about it. So we would have to wait a little bit and see.
Okay, Mohanad Saloum, Assistant Professor in Critical Security Studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.